So in this episode, I sit down with Emory from the Byland podcast. This was actually one of the first outdoor podcasts I'd ever listened to where I was like, wow, this is actually super valuable. You know, I feel like a lot of the outdoor podcasts nowadays, people are interviewing people about their thru hikes or the PCT, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of the same episode every single time, but his was different. So it really resonated with me. And so we've known each other for a couple years now. And he ended up coming on the PB in Mountains podcast. And so we're talking about everything from has ultralight backpacking ruined backpacking, balancing ultralight versus being comfortable, how having kids has changed his experiences in the outdoors. We talk a little bit about hunting. We talk a little bit about experiencing different cultures through hiking. So yeah, I think if you are someone that is on the other end of a thru hike, this is going to be really interesting to you. I think it's going to be really interesting to you as well if you are interested in also maybe getting into hunting in your future. So we have some conversations about that and where our heads are with that as well. So sit down, relax, and enjoy. The one thing about the video here on YouTube is that Emory's side of it kind of bugs out for most of the podcast. Mine surprisingly stays well, but Emory's kind of gets a little bit blurry, but you know, as long as you're on YouTube, you can still listen to it as a podcast, but video quality isn't really there on that one. And surprisingly, it wasn't mine this time. But no, I think it was maybe the camera that he had plugged in, which was a really nice camera. It just wasn't streaming well. So, but there is times where you can definitely see him. So, so you can watch the video for that. But let's get into the episode. We live. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with such a remarkable individual. He's a seasoned PCT hiker, dedicated father, also another podcast host, which is actually how I originally found him, and you know, just an all-around great guy. So I'm stoked to have him on the podcast today and share some experiences from trail and things with his family as well. So welcome to the podcast, Emory.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I feel like the tables are turned now.
Yes. So I have done an episode with Emory right after the JMT, which was called the JMT Rocket Ship. Right?
Yeah. I thought that was such a good name.
Yeah.
I was like really pleased with it.
Yeah, we did it right after the JMT, which, yeah, like I said, I have. If you're into outdoor podcasts, remember, Emory, I actually sent you this the other day, by the way, which you were one of the top 5 outdoor podcasts. You're like, who ranked that?
Yeah. Someone just came up with a list. I was like, I mean, I'm honored. To land on a list of any kind is humbling. That's great. Because when you create things and just put it out into the atmosphere, you're like, wow, I didn't realize how lonely this whole thing is.
100%, dude. Especially podcasts, because you're not really getting comments on them.
No,
anything.
I can't believe that. Long story. I cannot believe that podcasts have not turned into what YouTube is.
That would be, well, I mean, dang, it's almost trending that way because you can have the option of uploading a video now, I guess. Yeah. You know,
I just think it'd be nice to have a conversation. Like people can comment as they're listening. Brilliant. I don't know why it's not there.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. Especially, come on, Spotify. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's get on that. But yeah, no. So Emory's got excuse me. He's got a podcast called the Byland, right? It's just Byland.
Byland podcast.
The Byland podcast, which can you give us I wasn't even planning on getting into this, but I love the story of where that phrase or that term actually came from, at being a history buff that I am.
Yeah. So I'm a huge Lewis and Clark nerd. Hook, line, and sinker. I think it's top expeditions in all of human history. Oh, that might be a stretch. Especially, I think in American history specifically, there's 2 expeditions that I think are neck and neck. Lewis and Clark, moon landing.
Yeah, sure.
They're kind of the same thing in different centuries, right?
Yeah.
To make a long story short, so I don't nerd out too hard, I got into the journals of Lewis and Clark, and I would read Lewis's entries and then Clark's entries, and Clark was really good at documenting. They kind of had split jobs. Lewis was kind of the botanist type individual, took care of like documenting plants, and then Clark was the dude that got everyone there back, right? So he was like calculating distances and documenting like life and, you know, references along the trail and that kind of a thing. Well, at some point at the end of his journal entries, a lot of times they were going up the Missouri, and then once they started traveling over land, he would change because they were switching back and forth between river and then land travel. At one point or another, he starts ending his entries with, say, 23 miles by land. And I read that once or twice, and I was like, that's it. Like, that's it. That's the thing. It's by land. You're traveling, you're experiencing. I mean, they weren't doing it for fun. But to me, the idea was, oh, this is what it is. You're like using the landscape to get across it, to have an adventure, to have an experience, to see things. And yeah, you're doing it all by land.
So you were particularly inspired by the sign off. I love that.
100%. Yeah. It was so great. And it was so like, I don't know, sincere. It was like, yeah, we did this thing. It's like, it's so just there. You know what I mean? Like 26 miles by land.
It's very, it's like this very terse, not like very humbled.
It's just
like
what it is.
Yeah, not showy thing. Yeah, I get it.
And the thing is, like, these dudes were traveling, like,
right.
We can nerd out on this, but I mean, these guys were traveling, you know, when you do like a 30-mile day trail running or hiking, or these fools were doing like 30s on the reg in like moccasins across the freaking plains in the snow. Like that was like normal to them. And then like Lewis would do it with like dysentery.
Yeah.
So you're crapping your brains out hiking 30 miles. Like what?
Yep.
We are not them.
No, you just see, and then it is give the whole concise sign off by land and very humbling. Yeah, no, I like that. That's a great story.
Thank you for asking.
Yes, no, and that's awesome. I think so everybody needs to go check out that podcast. It's absolutely amazing. Again, that's how I first found Emory, when I was researching my own section hike of the PCT. Which, do you remember the question I asked you? I DM'd Emory.
I said, so, hey, but if you said it, I'd remember for sure.
I said, do you think I could bring this tent on the PCT section hike? And it was like,
wasn't it seek
outside teepees?
Yeah, you can. Maybe. You can do anything you want.
Yeah. It was basically like it wouldn't have worked. It was a really stupid question.
Yeah, how's that feel nowadays? Like having the experience you have now, looking back at that question.
Oh,
is that
just
it's not bad. It's just what's your perspective on that question now?
It sounds ridiculous. I mean, it sounds absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I'm actually can't even believe that I just brought it up on the podcast. But yeah, no, the Seek Outside, you know, I actually got one for a while, and then I ended up selling it because I actually got, what is it? I didn't asphyxiate myself, but I essentially got smoke poisoning when I
really did you cook in it?
So check it out, bro. I got one with the titanium thing. You see, you know,
all out.
Dude, you know, like you
Hot
see those
10.
hunt. Oh, they got
those
me with
hunt movies.
Dude, they got me hook. They got me hook, line.
They don't tell you got to roll that thing up every night.
Oh, exactly. So
put it together in cold hands,
bro. So I'm like, I'm gonna go up to the coast and I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna do the hot tent, and I put wood in there, and of course, you know, the wood is extremely wet, and so it's just creating smoke everywhere, and it's just smoking me out. And next thing I know, I'm nauseous, and I'm like, I can't camp here tonight. So I try to drive home, and I have my head out the window, and I throw up, and I go to the ER. I made my ex-girlfriend take me to the ER. She's so pissed. It's like 2 a.m. And it was just
you have smoke inhalation, damage.
That's what it was. Yeah. So this was all, you know.
You're like, this freaking Seek Outside hot tent thing is a bunch of horse crap, dude.
Trying to kill me. They got me with their marketing.
Dude. I mean, hey, I'm starting to move away. I'm actually like, maybe my time to move away from that. Like, I don't know, just where I'm at. I think the journey of gear is super fun. You need to go through these little bell curves and you never try not to stay stagnant, and just eventually your like trends will fade and kind of roll with it. Always, my thing is like, I love gear. Gear's super inspirational. It's fun. It should be fun. Just go with it. If you want to try something new, try it. If it works, great. If not, oh well, you tried it. But dude, have fun with it. You never know what you're going to find out.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of seeing, you see trends kind of come and go, and you're kind of like, so what are your thoughts on some of that stuff, particularly where it's at right now?
I think that bold statement, but I think ultralight backpacking has kind of ruined backpacking.
Interesting.
In the sense that backpacking is the mothership, and off of the mothership are like little droids that like fly off. You have like backpack hunting, thru-hiking, and then whatever other thing, just weekend warrior stuff, like going out and having a good time, section hiking. There's all these different splinters off. Fishing. People go backpacking to go fishing. Like mountaineering, I think, falls into the category of backpacking, right? It's all these little things. And I think there's an entire generation of new backpackers that have grown up on PCT videos, PCT and AT videos, that are told that they need a frameless backpack in a base weight of like 7 pounds, and a trekking pole tent, and DCF, and this like super streamlined layering system. And I think they're like halfway off. I think 50% of that's like completely incorrect for how they want to experience the backcountry. But they're told, like, they're not taught about how a backpack actually functions. You have people wearing I bought a Hyperlight pack last year just to like find out what the hype was. I was like, this thing freaking sucks. Like, it carries terrible. But once you experience a pack that is built to carry weight, and then you go experience that, you're like, I don't know, this is so weird. And then I just wonder how many backpackers are out there just putting up with the experience of backpacking, and they're not having a good time. And it's all because they're like, they've grown up on these PCT videos. They're like, oh, I need to have this like frameless pack, and it's tiny and it looks all super cool. That's one version of backpacking. It's like very niche, you're like real dialed in. It's for covering miles and being comfortable on trail. When you're on your feet all day long, a single pound matters. Ounces start mattering. Well, dude, when you just go backpacking for the weekend, it doesn't really matter.
Got it.
You're not on your feet long enough to actually feel a few pounds, and maybe a few pounds gives you a better time setting up your tent, not having to finagle trekking pole style tents, working on the tension. Dude, pole, like standard backpacking tents, are like just a half a pound heavier and way easier to live in.
Yeah. So it's almost like maybe they are following these trends and kind of sacrificing comfort by going along with some of these trends that they're seeing online, or that they're seeing on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah, and they don't know any difference. It's not their fault, but no one's giving look, man, if I make a video, okay, when you're backpacking and I know this happens all the time. When you have your gear dialed in and you're trimmed out, and then you go backpacking and you see someone walk up with an Osprey pack that has a lid on it, and like has like a sleeping bag compartment, what happens in your head?
I think noob.
Exactly. You're like, hello, dork. But it's not dorky. It's just that's where they're at on their thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem with that is that person's not making a YouTube video talking about why they have that Osprey pack or goiter pack or whatever it might be. They're not explaining themselves because that's not as sexy as some dude in a freaking frameless pack with a 2 pound base weight with a sewing thread for freaking dinner. Like,
he exchanged his backpack for a fanny pack, and now he stuffs everything in that.
Yeah, I always text Jeff Garmeyer, legend,
Yeah.
and I'm always like, dude, let's do like a gear video where you just hold your base weight in your hand, and it's like a
Yeah.
thimble and like, stupid stuff, just to prove the point of like, this is so silly. The
Yeah.
idea of backpacking is to go and have a good time. And
Yeah.
if you're not having a good time, if your pack hurts, a lot of people don't even know that they're hurting. They're just like, oh, that's backpacking.
Mhm.
I've been on trips where nothing hurts ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's especially something that newer people into backpacking need to watch out for. It sounds
Yeah.
like. Where do you think the trend, because like right now, like you're saying, it's just trending towards the ultralight thing. Like
Mhm.
that's the cool that's the
Oh,
that's
we're
the
in
cool
it.
guy in town.
It's like
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be starting to trend out of it.
That's what was my next question. Where do you think the next trend will go?
I think the pendulum's gonna swing back to a moderate position of backpacking. People are starting to wake up, I think, to the fact that, dude, this really irritates me. Hyperlight put out a silly, expensive rain shell for like $550. That's you're basically wearing a tent on your. They just turned a tent into a jacket, and they out. It's like a ridiculous price. People are getting. I think people are gonna wake up to the fact that like I don't need this expensive rain shell to go backpacking based on what I'm doing. Like people are gonna start realizing what am I actually trying to accomplish out there, and then how do I pair my needs and my style with gear, and that probably means a little bit heavier pad. Like I have this guy that I'm kind of mentoring. He wants to do a section. He's an older gentleman, like older, like 70s. Uh, and he wants to section hike the Oregon section of the PCT. And it is so amazing to me to see his brain just pop off in all these different directions. Well, he's literally wondering if he should go on one of those like thin, closed foam pads,
Mm-hmm.
or like an inflatable pad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. Do you think the weight penalty? And I'm like, what are you talking about weight penalty? Just what's comfortable, man?
Yeah.
Like your body has to sleep at night. And if you're not comfortable, you got old bones. Like
Right.
you of all people should be sleeping all night long. And if you think, why do you think you need to have this tiny thermarest mattress?
Yeah.
Because it's light?
Right.
I'm not telling you to bring an air mattress that you would, for like car camping. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I'm saying for like literally a pound more, you
Right.
can sleep better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what's the ROI on the weight
Exactly.
or something,
Bingo.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and to me, I totally agree, especially with the sleeping pad stuff. Like I will have a jacked up R value, and
Hell yeah.
I'll have a inflatable
Yes.
pad because I don't like being cold
Nope.
because I don't sleep well, and I like being as comfortable as possible. And I also bring
100%.
an inflatable pillow. And
Yes.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah. And to me, it's like, okay, I enjoy the next day better. I recover better. I,
Yes.
I stay sane because you know how bad it is. If you can't fall asleep in your
Yeah.
tent for hours, like that is the
Mhm.
worst thing ever, dude.
Yeah. Tossing and turning.
And yeah, so I totally agree. It is funny seeing people like really, uh, trying to make the decision between something. But I've been there too. I'm like,
Yeah.
gosh, like maybe I should get this tent because it's, a whole pound lighter
Yeah.
or something like that.
I have this big Agnes Fly Creek that I hate.
I had that was the one I switched out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate that thing. You gotta, and I hiked the entire PCT with that stupid tent,
Yeah.
and I still use it.
Yeah.
Why? Because it works.
It does.
I know how to pitch it really quick. I don't have to think about it. It's up. I'm in. I don't like it, but it's when I'm just going solo, it's if what am I gonna get? What am I gonna get that's gonna move the needle enough for me to be like, boy, that was a good $500. Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, it's like, trust me, I've been in that space. Going back to my time on the PCT, I've been there where I'm like literally spending hours on my feet all day, inventorying my backpack in my head, wondering what I could get rid of or what I could swap out to save myself some weight.
Mhm.
But again, that's a niched down moment in time. And for the majority of like where I'm at with backpacking now, I can do that. I can go into a trip if I'm going to do bigger miles where I know that's going to be important. I'll trim out my backpack. I'll bring a lighter stove or a lighter this that optimizes for time on the trail. Dude, if I'm just going for like an overnighter and just going to have a good time in the backcountry, I'm going to bring gear that caters to that. And people are just so caught up, even more so, like people are just so caught up in this ounce counting. And you should count ounces. You should understand the impact of an ounce, but it doesn't need to like rule your life.
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, I have found myself now, even when I do overnight backpacks, this has been a couple years ago, but when I would take a couple buddies going, and I would still want to have like a light bag. Like
Yeah.
I'd want to have the appearance of a light bag, like a small bag. Cause like
Yes.
we just talked about, what do you see when you see somebody with an Osprey pack? Maybe someone newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of when you see somebody with like kind of a pared down small kit? It's like,
Yeah. Been around.
I probably thru hiked before, right?
Yeah.
That's the appearance I always wanted to have.
Yes.
And I almost think some of it could be some of that. Where it's like
100%. Yes.
it's literally like keeping up with the Joneses, but like in the
Dude,
backcountry.
That's exactly, yes. Thank you. I hadn't put it that way, but yes, that is a major element of it. You're like, you have to wear a hyperlight pack because that means that, and dude, you better freaking drive over that thing a couple times.
Yeah, so it's faded white.
Yeah, dude. Like kick some dirt on your shoes, like get them muddy before you go hiking so people know that they're not brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. Where I'm at with gear now is find the stuff that works. My thing is I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about my gear. I just want to I just want to put it in my bag, and when I get to camp, I want to set it up and be done with it. I don't want to like trekking pole tents. I've had one of those. I hated it. I got rid of it. I was like, this is silly. For like an extra half a pound, I can have poles. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And the poles are meant for the tent.
Yeah. I agree. So that big Agnes Fly Creek that you had, I got rid of mine.
Hell
because
yeah.
what I hated about it the worst? Getting up to pee in the night.
Yeah, you got a Superman.
Yeah, it's just like
when you have gear in front of you, you got a Superman in, Superman out. It's a terrible experience.
But I'll tell you what, I rode out some storms in that thing, and I was way more confident with that thing than I am with my current Gossamer gear one that I hate trekking pole tent. It's like, dude, I got sold. I drank the juice, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think trekking pole tents serve their purpose through hikes because it makes sense. I guess. Still wouldn't use one because they can be finicky depending on how the ground is laid out. Which is how it is. And the last thing I want to do at the end of the day is worry about the tension of my tent. Because if you do need that tension because the wind kicks up and you didn't get it or you pitched it wrong, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, that was awesome. So that's a great segment, especially if anybody is getting into backpacking. That is something you maybe want to go back and maybe re-listen to, and to inform some of your gear decisions going forward. I feel like because that was some good stuff. Yeah,
dude.
You
I
brought up
help people do that because a lot of times, I mean, I don't even care what. Oh, sorry, there's delay.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Well, you brought up the PCT, and so what I'm really interested, because I want to ask you about the PCT, but I think what I'm more actually interested in is where you're at right now in your life. Would you do another thru hike? If so, what would it be? And if not, why not? And so what I guess by thru hike, what I mean by is something AZT and
Substantial.
larger, something
Yeah.
like that. Maybe Colorado Trail and larger, something longer, not like 100 miles or anything like that. Where's your interest level in that style of hiking right now?
I feel like it'll always be inside me, and my wife is concerned about it because she thinks that now that we have kids, she doesn't want them to be an anchor. Because if I was like, "Hey, I need to go do the CDT," she wouldn't like it, but she would probably find a way to be okay with it, and then wouldn't be, uh, because who would? Um, but my interest couldn't be higher. Now, my desire is not there right now because of how life is currently. It's uh it's a commitment to one of those trails. And to answer your question, if I was going to go again, they're one of three trails. I don't know why, but I'm extremely pulled to the Continental Divide Trail. Even before I hiked the PCT, I was drawn to it. I don't know why. I think we're just naturally drawn to certain things, and the CDT is one of them. A close second, actually, third would be the Pacific Northwest Trail, just because I feel like it's, you know, Pacific Northwest Trail. It's super cool, right? It's in the northern area. I think that's neat. But then also, I think if I was gonna kind of alter it a little bit, I'd go over to France and hike this the Hexatrek Trail that is out there.
What?
Yeah, it's like 1,900 miles. It's the next episode going out on my podcast. It's 1,900 miles, so 3,000 kilometers. Starts on the German border. You go through the Pyrenees, and you end on the corner of France and Spain on the Atlantic Ocean.
Interesting.
And
So,
you're
some
like,
out of country
yeah.
hikes. Wow.
Well, I love France. I've been there a couple times, and I just love it. Like the pastries are amazing, and I'm a pastry guy. But the idea of just experiencing one of the things that I learned on the PCT was you get to experience a landscape in a way that you can't experience anywhere else, any other way. A road trip is great, but when you really connect to the ground because you're walking it all day long, it's a different kind of connection. I think it would be really interesting to connect to a foreign country like France, where it's a mixed bag of wild camping. You can go into town and have an espresso in the morning, maybe grab a baguette, maybe a bottle of wine on your way out of town. And you're experiencing, it's a mix between culture and landscape, castles, all that kind of stuff. So, but also amazing landscapes. Like the way they designed the route was to be able to actually backpack.
Mm-hmm. So it's not even just the hiking. It's like you also want to experience the culture around wherever environment you're in as well. That's alluring to you.
I think for that trail, yeah, specifically. Mm-hmm. If I was going to go abroad to hike, that's where I would go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to experience that. But then, the CDT, I think the CDT, like American hiking, is really about the landscape.
Right.
It's not so much about the culture because you're part of it, Right. And trail culture is once you've experienced trail culture, it's like pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
So you're really just out there to experience the landscape and to push yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm interested, but I don't think I could. I don't think I'd be able to stay away from my family for that long.
Yeah. So, well, I guess so. So you have these interests in mind, maybe for a later date.
Yep.
Right. But your kids are how old right now?
2.5 and 4.5.
Okay. So very young children at home. And so you're saying it would be extremely tough to leave them for 3-4 months and try and enjoy yourself while you're on this trail that you're supposed to have a really good time on, but your mind is somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's not good. Like when I hiked the PCT, I was supposed to be single. And then I met Jess, and I was like, okay, that's a curveball. but it ended up being really great because she was at home, and like I think that she was a really big part of my trail because there were some instances where she came and saw me. She saw me, end the trail in Canada. She was there. That was a very emotional moment because it was just really cool. But then she was also there, like she pulled me out of some really dark spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
can't imagine the trail, my trail story being anything other than with her. But that's about as far as I want to go in terms of having a connection back home
Yeah.
while hiking. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
fiance, we were really new together. Like we were, zero to hero really quick. We got married like a month after I got back from the trail, a year to the day that we met. So we moved really, really quickly. And I can't see myself ever doing that with like a family unless that's a very difficult mental space to be in because I loved my hike on the PCT in that I was able to kind of check out and check back in a healthy way. I didn't feel like she was anchoring me down. Like she did not ever make me feel guilty. She did not ever make me feel like I needed to check in. She allowed me to be and do what I needed to do. And I felt like I owed it to her to finish and to give it my best. But then you put kids in there, and kids deserve their parents, especially at this age. And to me, uh, I just wouldn't be able to enjoy my hike. I have a hard enough time going for a few days, man.
Yeah, and yeah. So it's just simply that the dynamics have changed because you went and you hiked the PCT, I believe, back in 18 or 19.
Just 17.
17. So you were
I feel like at some point I have to stop talking about it.
class of 17. Yeah. Yeah. It's like one of those things where, yeah, you graduate something you did in high school or something, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Oh man, I remember this play in high school. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Could have won state.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. So the dynamic has just really kind of shifted. And that is something that I'm interested in because how has having kids changed your view of the outdoors or changed what you do in the outdoors?
Let's go with option number 2 first, because I feel like that's an easier question. So it's how it's changed what I do is it's when I came off the PCT, I was like rocket fuel. Similar to your experience on the JMT, and that's why I named your episode like the rocket ship, because I felt like it slingshotted you into like this whole new life. You have this condensed experience, and even though the JMT is only 200 miles, I remember talking to you afterwards and being like, your confidence, you came home, you did like the timberline, like you were just boom, boom, boom. You're like, I can do this, I can do the JMT, watch this. And you're like condense all this experience down in this one moment, and your confidence just goes through the roof. You're like, dude, I can handle anything that comes at me. All right, let's do this thing. And like it's like the whole world is just blown open for you. It's like double doors, split wide open, whereas before they were kind of concerning, right? And that's what happened to me on the PCT is man, you're just a machine through Washington. I felt like a Highlander, dude. Every hill that I hiked, I was like, chop off a head and felt stronger, like if anyone knows that reference. And I even wrote a blog article about it where I was like, dude, I feel like every hill's making me stronger. Like I'm taking it all in, and my confidence was so high. I was like, I can do anything. I can do 30s, like no big deal. Well, then you come home and then you want to have a family. And that was always been my life goal, was to have a family. If I would have had kids at like 16, I would have. I just always wanted a family. So I'm 39 now. So, mid 30s when I had our oldest, and it kind of just hit the brakes, man. Like not in a bad way at all, but I was coming off this high of being really good and really capable. And I had to learn to kind of gear down, shift down. You know what I mean? And so the last, I would say, 4 years have been me learning how to downshift and and like kind of re-identify with how I enjoy the outdoors and what I get out of it. And I've had some moments in the backcountry where that's been very eye-opening to me, where I've been out there before and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Okay, why don't I like this? Am I being a weenie? Have I lost my edge? Am I being a little scaredy cat because I'm alone? I'm like, no. Like I can, that's not it. And what I realized after a couple of those trips was I just wanted to be around my family. Like I was experiencing this thing all alone
Mm.
without the people that I love and care most about.
Yeah.
So, Emory, what are you going to do about it? Well, retool. You have to reorganize. Have to figure out a way to get your kicks in, but then also enjoy it with your family. And I found as I became a dad and I started going on walks in the woods with my little girls, like a 1 mile hike was like the equivalent of a 30-mile day. And by hike, I mean walk in the forest, you know.
Mhm.
But but to me, the scale was the same because I was with the enjoyment I got out of a long day on the PCT and seeing Canada and like seeing all these landscapes. It was like equivalent because I was having an experience with my little girls. And to me, that's where like it started shifting. But it took me a while to realize that.
Dude,
And I fought it for really, I didn't fight it, but I feel like uh, what's the term? What's a good way to put it? Like, yeah, fought it, I guess, pushed back on it. I was like, no, 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 I can do that and I can do this. When really where my heart was with my family. And I think a lot of people have that struggle. They just continue to do this thing where they think they should be doing, even though they don't like it.
interesting. So
Because they feel
you
the pressure.
yeah, so you almost so the way that you were experiencing Canada, the North Cascades, things like that, you're now starting to experience that through the eyes of
Yeah.
your daughters
Yeah.
when you're taking them on these smaller things, but
Very
still
small.
it's you're getting that same experience just through them and seeing like them kind of explode with their passion and how much
Yeah.
they are enjoying their time there.
Yeah.
And so you almost feel guilty like if you go on something that, a regular 20-mile day or something like that, which would absolutely probably blow their mind, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like you kind of feel that guilt because you're not sharing it with them at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also learned that because I have this thing in me, this like hiking monster or adventure monster, because I have to feed it from time to time. So I don't want to feed it too much because then there's like a weird tug and pull there. But I do have to feed it, which is why I do the Lewitt every year. And because it's a way for me to get out, I don't really have to think about it too much. And I love that trail so much. And it's a way for me to get some big miles in. I enjoy going solo, but I'll take some people from time to time if it works out. So I really try to get a couple trips in by myself, but it's hard. Not because it's hard to do that timing wise, but it's just hard because I get out there and I'm like, man, do I really want to be out here or do I want to be with them? But I also think it's also really nice to miss someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't miss something, then you can't appreciate it. And I think that's one of the other reasons why I do make time to go on my own, to be away, to miss. You need that
Yeah.
contrast.
So you have this adventure monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that
dude.
because I also have this adventure monster, and in fact, my fiance was the one
Oh,
that
congrats.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, she was the one that convinced me to get out of the house this weekend because she's like,
Mhm.
yeah, winters are tough. Winters are
Yeah.
tough on me.
Yeah.
And is does Jess, your wife, ever kind of say, Emery, Maybe you need to go.
Yeah, she does.
Maybe
Yeah.
you need to go on a
Yeah.
on an adventure or something. You're getting a little wound up here.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she says it. She's like, you need to go. And I'm like, I know, but I know. I'm working on it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
man, like it's hard. I mean, I'm a dad that wants to be a dad.
Hmm.
It's hard, man. It's hard because you have what's the Marvel guy? The Hulk? Like he's got two brains. You want to Hulk out on the trail, you want to go do that thing.
Hmm.
You want to go have an adventure and be crazy. Not crazy, but you want to have an adventure. But dude, you don't at the same time. So you're caught between this responsibility monster and like the trail monster, the adventure monster. And you love them equally. You want to be both of them. And it's impossible to try and figure out. So you just have to kind of feed both of them independently and like little nibbles here and there, to keep them at bay. But here's the thing, like today, uh, for anyone that's a parent out there, they would know that like I think they would agree that 2.5 and 4.5, like you're in it. Like those years are like you're in it. I feel like our oldest is starting to come out of it. Like she needs less hand holding. But here, fast forward in like a few years, they're going to be fully capable of a lot of things. Like today, I took my oldest for a walk, and she's very cautious. She's just always cautious. Um, and we're walking around the neighborhood, and I always talk to her about climbing hills, and we go to this dog park, and there's a big hill. She climbs this hill like no big deal. Dude, when she was, 2.5, she would walk like a mile. She would just walk a mile because she was enjoying herself on the trail. But she had this thing about hills. And today she's just like, all of a sudden I turn around and she's just on this hillside that's like really steep. And I'm like, you're going to fall and bust your ass. And she was so proud of herself. She had the confidence to climb up on this side hill and get as high as she could. And I was like, she's never going to be able to get down. Like I've seen her lock up before and she just meanders her way back down. She like all the things that I ever talked her through to get down a little steep hill. She did it. And I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Good for you. I was like, she did it. She got there. We hit a milestone. And to me, that translates to, all right, what can we do? Like now that you got this down, because you have to meet your kids where they're at. I want them to be confident in the backcountry. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I want them to go in there feeling like they can do it. So and every kid's different, like my youngest, she'll just run down a hill. Like,
Right.
like she'll just tumble down it. And I'm like, all right, but they're two different kids. So you have to kind of navigate it differently. And that's the parenting, right? It's like, we're in it in this moment, but here pretty soon we're gonna try going backpacking as a family this year. Not very far. We're gonna do it and see how it goes, So it's like a whole new journey, man. It's like I want this big epic journey, but I have one sitting right in front of me. It's just as challenging.
And there it is. I think that's the key, right? It's like
Yeah.
I mean, I bet like when you saw your daughter do that today on the hill, like it made you almost about as proud as when you crush it or
Yeah.
way more proud than when you've crushed a 25, 30-mile day.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. But
Totally.
it's almost like that same proud feeling. So I'm guessing like it sounds like probably in the next, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you'll probably start integrating more backpacking if they like it, right? Of course.
Mhm.
But it sounds like you might be excited to kind of take that next step with them, teach like actually getting out there. And maybe that's where you can kind of maybe get the gear up a little bit, right? From where you're at. But in knowing how their personalities are and things like that. But I bet that kind of sounds like maybe where you're heading with your family, which sounds super exciting.
Totally. Dude, I remember when my oldest was born, I was holding her in the hospital. And again, dude, I'm like, again, feeling the high. I mean, it was months later. It was a year. Wow. I haven't really thought about this, but a year after I finished the PCT, I'm holding my baby girl. So I'm still on the high of the PCT. And all I can remember thinking one morning was, man, I just hope our feet hurt together. I hope we just complain about how hard our feet hurt, how bad our feet hurt together. I
Yeah.
hope that happens one day. I'm not going to force it on them, but I'll tell you this much. I think as parents, it's our job, even if our kids may not want to do it, like then maybe we don't think they're into it. It's really important to set an example. So if you want your kid to be athletic, you need to be athletic. If you think that's important, if you want them to be in shape, if you want to be healthy, if you want them to eat healthy, if you want them to think healthy, you better be doing those same things. If you want them to be outdoorsy, if that's a hope of yours, then you better be outdoorsy. It's just as impactful, I think, to go on a backpacking trip, for dad to go on a backpacking trip, make little selfie videos and send it back to them, show them pictures when you come home, have them see you leaving, have them see you come back from an adventure. Dude, that's like saturation. Dad's out there doing it. They're going to have these memories of dad coming back from a hunting trip or from a backpacking trip, showing them pictures and videos.
And seeing
At
how
some
excited
point,
he is and everything.
yeah, and at some point, they're going to be like, well, I want to go with you. And I had my little girl say that to me. I was going on a backpacking trip. I think it might have been the Lou last year. I was like, Dad's going to go on a backpacking trip. I want to come. I was like, all right, good.
Dude. That's
Yeah. Do you know
there
what I
it
mean?
is.
Like, yeah, like there it is. Like, all right, you're interested. Let's nurture this thing. Not push them, but like, man, if you want them to be a snowboarder, you better be snowboarding.
Yeah.
And you don't have to take them all the time.
Yeah. I love that. I think that is perfect. I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but I think that that's really good advice for people that are becoming parents and people that are already into the outdoors. Like you don't have to totally kill the stuff that you're doing outdoors because you are
No.
setting that example for them every time you're coming home and maybe you're in a better mood or something like that. Like you said, you're showing them pictures, you're showing them really cool videos of things that they're not seeing in their everyday life, which is really probably sparking their curiosity.
Yeah.
And yeah, just
talk to them about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like your job as a parent is to expose them to as many different ideas and concepts as possible so that they can be the person that they're intended to be.
Yeah.
You can't do everything.
Right.
But because they have a whole life ahead of them. They'll figure it out. Like, dude, when did you get into backpacking?
Yeah, dude, late.
Right?
I mean, I definitely didn't do it in the Midwest. It wasn't until 2015 or so. I mean,
Yeah.
I was 20.
So you're like a full-fledged adult.
Yeah.
And you got into backpacking. So like,
Yeah.
you just never know what they're going to get into. I mean,
No.
yeah. So I love it. I love backpacking for what it does for me as a human being and as a person. And I would love to experience a trail with my girls. I mean, what I would love is for them to want to thru hike. And I would be like, yes, that's the thru hike I want to go on next.
Right. Yeah. Judy, it's really interesting you say that because my fiance was actually just saying, hey, I'm actually kind of interested in thru hiking.
Oh, baller. Yeah. Good.
I was like, I never thought I was going to hear that.
Yeah. What does she think of backpacking?
We haven't gone too much yet. We've done some car campings and stuff like that. And we've had a really fun time. Yeah. We've had a really good times with those. And so one place that I have dropped the ball has been, I've been trying to get her into like rock climbing and things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a harder sell than backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
And the simple reason is because of heights and ropes and this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more technical and all that. And I'm seeing it as like, oh, I love this thing. It would be great to have a partner. It would be easy to spend time, to that. Mm-hmm. And so I've really pushed her like too hard into that. And that's been like at my fault. Right. And so I love your example of how you were showing your kids how much you enjoy something without pushing them.
Yeah.
It's kind of the proxy to, it's like, hey, this would be really cool if you did this. I mean, but I'm not
You're
like,
you're
I'm not
brainwashing
like,
them.
yeah, but I'm not like, ah, like you
Right.
need to
Yeah.
go do this or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like to your point of whatever through hike they want to do next, that's the same thing with her. I was like, hey, if you want to do the Wonderland, I would totally do the Wonderland with you, like,
Yeah.
and take a chill time with it. Like that would be super fun.
Yeah. So the important thing about that is that, man, for if I had a dime for everyone that was like, yeah, I don't like backpacking. Okay. What kind of backpacking did you do? What was your experience? Because I've often found that if you dig far enough, uh, they just didn't like what they did. Or they don't like, let's say they don't know, they only know about one version of backpacking. Well, maybe they didn't know that there's through hiking. Maybe they didn't know there's like backcountry fishing or hunting or just, weekend trips. We all have our different interests, and you forcing like forcing rock climbing, maybe she's not there yet. And maybe she will be one day. You weren't into rock climbing first,
Right.
but it became part of your journey. It's like these overlapping circles of interest, right? It starts with car camping. And then you're like, man, it's really hard to freaking get some spots. Well, you know where there's free camping?
Exactly.
If you just hike a couple miles, you can have the same thing, and there's no one there. And then if you hike like 5 or 6 miles, there's even less people. And if you go 10 miles, now you're really alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, how do I do that? Okay, cool. I'm going to go do this. And then you start learning about backpacking. And the next thing you know, you're like, how did I stumble into this PCT video? What are these guys doing? Why are they wearing trail shoes? That seems weird. I thought everyone wore boots. Why are they doing that? My newest thing is, wait, they're not using camelbacks? What?
I saw that post.
You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
It's these overlapping, and then it's just stepping stones to new things. And then eventually she's like, through hiking sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And you're like, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what's so funny? It's overlapping hobbies. Cause it's like with through hiking, why I'm interested in through hiking got me interested in ultra running got me interested in alpine climbing. Bingo. Alpine climbing got me interested in obviously rock climbing. And it's like all of these things, and then split mountaineering. It's like, yeah, it's all these skill sets that you can then combine into alpine climbing, split boarded mountaineering, and all this stuff. And it's funny, like the course that I run, even my outdoor creator course, people are always, they really want to be niche down. They're like, oh, I have to be a backpacker, or I have to do this and that. I'm like, yeah, dude, outdoors people are like the least niche down people ever. Like even Darwin. If I say Darwin on the trail, what do you think about?
I mean, I think of different things now, but like I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh, long distance backpacker."
Yes, long distance backpacker, but he has bike packing videos on his thing.
He was a bike packer before he was into bikes before he was into through hiking, and he's a prime example of someone that niched down really, really good, got real popular, but it wasn't who he was.
Yeah.
He was actually this other guy who was who enjoyed bike packing more than he did through hiking.
Interesting.
And then he posted bike packing videos and no one liked it because that wasn't his crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could argue that niching down can get you bigger faster. But if you have other interests, it's going to be a lot harder to start integrating those interests because you're trying to sell a idea or a entertainment value to someone that's not buying. They're there for the thing that you niche down on.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like my creator journey is taking far longer than what I want it to. But at the end of the day, those that do decide to come along with me and are interested, they're going to know who I am and my interests. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're going to know that Emory's into hunting and, backpacking with their family, weekend trips, easy stuff, but also some through hikes and whatever else he comes up with.
Yeah, and I think it's
And for you,
inspiring that you're not just like pegged into one place. Like I mean, for me, it's I get bored easily. Like
yeah,
honestly, dude, I don't know if I would ever do the PCT or any long trail like that.
mm,
And the simple reason is because like I feel like I learned a lot from the JMT, a
mm-hmm.
lot from the Colorado Trail, the Lewitt, the Timberline,
Yep,
the all these other trails I've done
yep.
that I don't know what else there is to learn about through hiking. But
No, yeah, you're right.
right, I mean, it's just it comes down to like gear, and it's like okay, but I don't need any skill to have to pick out gear really. I just need to look at resources and this and that. What's alluring to me though, still with through
Yeah.
hiking, is the fact of exploring a different culture or exploring a landscape. So
Mm-hmm.
like that still is interesting to me. But to me, it's like I want to learn something now. I like you do need like a basic skill set for through hiking, but I want to transfer that skill set to other areas.
You would have no problem on the PCT from a gear slash performance standpoint. You are absolutely correct that you do not need a long distance trail badge to wear.
Right.
So like you're not going to learn anything because a through hike, unfortunately, sorry guys, but a through hike is just a series of week-long backpacking trips.
Yep.
That's all it is. I'm sorry, but that's all it is. You're just doing section hikes every single week. 70 to 100 miles, 120 miles. That's it. So if you've done one of those, congratulations, you can probably do a through hike. The where a through hike is different, and you would have to decide for yourself if this is what you want. Through hiking is an experience in endurance, mental and physical endurance. So the dark patches you went through on the JMT and the Colorado Trail and all these other trails, those last longer and are more frequent. That's really the difference. And at some point, you're like, you will get to the point on a long distance trail of, let's say, one of the big three distances, right? Like something like that. So you're right around 2,000 miles. You will get to a point where you're like, yeah, I think I get it. I got it. We're good, right? So this is it. This is the through hike. So we just do this all day long, every single week. And then we just end up in a new town. We resupply, we hitch, we sleep in the dirt. So this is it. Oh, okay. I get it. I'm good. All right. When you get there, there's more. And it's not that you're going to learn about through hiking. It's not that you're going to learn about backpacking. What you're going to learn is the deep, dark corners of your mind and your body. That's what, when you get to the terminus and when you complete the thing, that's what you're getting to is like personal development and self exploration. The backpacking, you got it. You know what I mean? You know it. I mean, you don't need to be an expert backpacker to go through hiking. Like that is not a badge anyone needs. For you, it would be more of like, cool, I want to see what happens. I want to have the experience. I want to see what goes on.
Yeah. I've realized that at about the 2 week mark, I'm like, I could do something different.
Yeah, dude, everyone's there. Yeah, dude, 2 weeks is like,
really?
this is it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, 2 weeks is like 100%. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, dude, like everyone's ditching their. That's why everyone quits within the first like 100, 200 miles because they're like, this is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
If this is it, I want nothing to do with it. But you just have like that's where I'm talking about. You get into that unfamiliar territory of like wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, and then at some point you're just blah. You're just like flowy. You're just like cool. I'm just going with it, and then they don't like mean anything anymore, and you're just like you just kind of shed this skin. You know, that's the beauty of the thru hike is shedding your skin, is getting to the point where like you can be the trail name. You know, Like you can be whoever you want to be out there. You get to be who you are. And sometimes it takes in this like it's very monotonous, but it's therapeutic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like backpacking the PCT or a long distance trail is something that you need to be good at backpacking. It's just a byproduct.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, mental endurance, physical endurance. Like I said, I'm very what's attractive to me about through hikes is experiencing like all those places in Colorado that I hit. Like
Yeah.
I've experienced those in a very different. Like that's my favorite way to travel now. Like instead of just going there for like a wedding or something, it's like no, like
Yeah.
I want to experience Colorado, like these trail towns, like walking there.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool. And then you meet these locals and you get
You see
pitches.
everything differently.
Oh, way different.
Everything's different. It's through the lens of your feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Here's the thing, man. If you're not, the thing about a thru hike is, if you're not in it, hook, line, and sinker, don't do it. Because it's not going to be as valuable. You got to really, it sounds so stupid, but you have to really want it. And you have to, even if whatever the reason is, it doesn't even matter what the reason is, but you have to at least want something related to the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's like, why? I mean, why would do you feel pressure to have to do it? To do it?
No, I used to. I used to think honestly that to be credible in the creator space, like you had to hike the PCT or you had to do this or that. If you look at
Dan Becker blew that out of the water. Like he's
out of the water.
Dad. He's a dad.
Yeah, and actually he just had a upload where he like almost died in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he had you know, yeah, that whole credibility thing and the peer pressure to do that stuff. Again, I go back to this whole thing. Like, please understand your why behind doing everything you do in the outdoors. Just spend some time in your brain. And if your why is because you think someone that you should be doing it and that you need to hike 15, 20 miles a day, but you don't like hiking 15, 20 miles a day, and maybe 5 miles sounds great, or maybe like 3 miles sounds great, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. You'll be happier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in life in general.
If you're doing content, you're going to make better content because you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Dude, for sure. Yeah. Do the stuff that, like, for the content creator world, like, people know when you're just full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
They know. Eventually, and you can't hide it for very long. So if you're not passionate about it and you're just fake, and not only that, dude, the worst thing in the world is that someone meets you in real life and you're not what you say you are.
Mm.
At least that's my biggest fear. That's why I try to be as like real and honest about everything. Dude, I got dad bod right now. Like, I am not in 30-mile, PCT shape.
Yeah.
Dude, all right. Whatever.
Yeah, do what makes you happy. You're totally right. And I'm wondering too, like with the Colorado Trail, JMT and things, I had my 9 to 5 at those times. So I had to blaze through these trails. I mean, I did a CT in 22 days. That was 500 miles, 22 days, like 90,000 feet of vert.
You're working.
Yeah. I mean, and people are usually doing it in over 30 for sure. And I'm like, I had same with the JMT, like no zeros, nothing. Like I could not hike or stop, like, cause I had to get home. I had to get back. And so I'm wondering if some of that was it. Like the CT was a blur. I mean, it was a total blur to me. The JMT, like, you're right. It was a rocket ship. And man, I will forever be thankful to that trail. Cause that was the absolute catalyst to me. Like that will always be, it'll always be like my number one. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the PCT.
But that's the whole thing, man. Like, if something at some point is going to pull you. Okay, what you're experiencing right now, I feel like I've experienced with hunting. I'm going through it with hunting. I don't know where you're at with, but the language you're using and like you're like how you're describing thru hiking it's like hunting for me. It's like this thing that I feel like I should be doing because I had an interest in it at one
Mm-hmm.
point, but I'm having a hard time identifying with it. So I'm like, I'll just stay in touch. I need to call it from time to time. I'm gonna stay in touch with you. I'm gonna go have a beer from time to time with you, and like we're
Yeah.
gonna do the dance. But just know that I'm totally not into this right now. And so you realize, and then you go out there and you do it. Like for me, hunting, backpacking started with hunting. My
Mhm.
backpacking journey started because of hunting.
Right.
And then next thing I know, I'm hiking the PCT, and they're calling me paparazzi. Like,
Right.
what the heck is that about? Like, that's weird. So I feel like I have this, but I feel like I have this root in hunting. I'm like, okay, Emory, you're gonna go hunting, and that's what you could do in the fall every single year. And you're gonna go backpack hunting. You're gonna go alone and all this stuff. But then I go and I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like I'm not having fun. Like I'm just not enjoying myself. I don't, it's not that I hate it, but I'm just like, like I'm just not in it, right? Okay. Well, is this what you want to spend your time doing then? Is this how you want to be away from your kids? So when you hug your little girls goodbye to go hunting for a couple of days, and then you feel like this, does this feel good, Emery? Like, does this feel good? Is this how you want to spend your time doing something that you're really not into, or at least this version of it?
That you feel like you should be doing because it's September, it's bow hunting season or
Yeah,
whatever,
dude.
it's rifle
Because you've
season.
been
It's
doing
like,
it for years,
and it's the thing that you do. You see your buddies
bro. It's
this and that
September.
doing it. Yep.
Got to chase
Yeah.
them
Like,
out.
how
Yeah.
could you not be in the woods in September
Yes.
with a bow in your hand?
You know what? Really, you know what September is? Really good backpacking month.
Dude. Yeah, I know.
It's really good.
And it's like, do I want to spend all day trying to find an elk that I'm probably not going to find?
Yeah, dude.
or do I actually want to have a fun time in the woods?
Yeah, dude. Like, what do you want to do? Dude, yes, for all my life, I was like, fudge, September's such a good month, but it's elk season.
Yeah.
And I suck at hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth of it, dude. And you know why I suck at hunting? Because I'm
you're
not into it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the truth. Do I enjoy hunting? Yes. But I suck at it because I'm not into it all the time. I'm just, it's not what I do. It's not me anymore. Now, it'll always be a part of me, and I will probably always go hunting. But last season, I went hunting one night, one day, one evening, one morning. And then because of work and things, I never ended up going again. And I was like, weird. I didn't go hunting this year. And I was still me. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
And that's fine, man. And it's like, you're totally right. Like maybe it was part of your life to get you into something like it led you to backpacking, right? Like it was there and it served that purpose of getting you into backpacking.
Yeah.
And now it's almost like you almost feel like this weird guilt or obligation to it because it gave you this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you? So does that sound familiar with like the PCT stuff, like the thru-hiking?
Well, Emory, I gotta tell you, we are so similar with the hunting thing. Like, it's not even funny. Not even funny, dude. Because no lie, the only reason I moved to Oregon in 2014 was because I wanted to hunt out west. That was the reason why. I wanted to hunt out west. I wanted to be in big country. I wanted to glass. I wanted to be on elk. I wanted to do this and that. And I did it a couple times or whatever, but then it got me into backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would still occasionally go hunting, but then it started like every year it would go down. Last year, last year was the first time I never bought a tag.
Ew. So, how dare you?
And again, I'm still here.
I can't believe you.
Yeah. But you're totally right, dude. It's like my buddies would text me and they'd be like, "Are you hunting this year?" Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, September is great climbing season, backpack. There's these summits I want to hit. There's in the North Cascade. Like, I don't have time to like sit around in the woods trying to find some elusive beast right now. Like, with swords on their head. Like I can't do it right now. And so I fully intend to come back to hunting, just like
Yes. Me
as
too.
I yeah, as I get older, like I fully intend to get there. And I think part of it too, dude, is like like Washington and Oregon. Like, look, I come from Wisconsin where we had a deer season from September until December. And you had to earn a buck, or which was you had to harvest a doe in order to get a buck tag because there were so
Oh,
many deer.
interesting.
Yeah. So like they gave you these tags, like they were just handing out tags for free. Right. Like this is during CWD and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
But it's still like you get a doe tag, you get a buck tag, like, and here it's like, no, you have to figure out, do you want to harvest it
Oh,
out with a
dude,
bow
it's so
or a
stupid.
rifle? And that honestly, dude, like I think that's one of the
It turn
biggest things that's keeping me away from
the
it.
tag
It's
situation,
ridiculous.
like you got to put in points. I'm like, piss off,
Yeah.
dude. No one will ever make me. Yeah. Oh, you gonna? I hate this question. Did you put in for any tags this year? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? You think I have time to put in for tags? You think I actually care? Like, get the heck out of here right now.
Yeah.
No, dude, I'm not traveling 8 hours to go hunt a tag. Like, good Lord.
Out of state tags too. I mean,
Dude,
you
get out of
pay
my face with the
700,
out of state
800.
tags. Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, no thanks. I'm out.
You're wild. It's
Yeah,
so wild. And look, like it's cool for conservation because probably a lot of it goes to that. Love conservation,
I
BHA, all that
guess.
type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spend $800 on an out of state tag. I'm just going to tell you that right
No,
now.
dude, yes, exactly. Look, hunting, I'm a hobbyist at best. That's how it is, man. You
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
go, dude. Here's the thing. I went on that Exo Mountain Gear death hike in
Yeah.
2019. I got there and I was like, I am not these people. Like,
Mhm.
dude, they were. I love those guys to death. But by when I say that, I mean I was like, oh, I came back and I was like, Jess, these guys really like hunting. They were like intimidating about it. I was like,
Yeah.
I should not have been invited. I don't know how I got this invite, but I got the wrong chocolate bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, the golden ticket. And
Yeah.
and like I hang out with you. They come into town, I hang out with them, and I'm like, why do you guys even talk to me? I haven't killed an animal. Like, they're like, you want to go to Alaska? And I was like, yeah, I do, but how much is it? And they're like, it's like 5 or 6 grand. I'm like, no, no, what?
Oh my
Dude, you can
gosh.
take like 2 deers, some fishes.
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds awesome. Can I bring my camera? Is that good enough?
Yeah,
I'll
right.
take
Right.
pictures.
Right.
Dude,
Yeah.
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 I'm like, to your point, I think that I will come back to hunting one day, maybe.
Hmm.
Because you ever run into people that are like, man, I have 120 years. You're like, how is that possible? What happened to you? This is what happened. This is it.
Yeah.
I think.
Love it, dude.
And then eventually you're like, wake up and you're like, I think I'm gonna go hunting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to stay in touch with it. And the reason why I do enjoy it is because I feel like, to the point, to go back to the idea of assembling a toolkit
Hmm.
of skills,
Yep.
that's a completely other tool set.
Mhm.
You know, it's your mind goes into looking for animals, you see things differently, you smell things differently, you can track things. Those are skill sets that are really good to have. And at a minimum, they're good to have because it gives you awareness of your environment. So the gift of hunting is my utter confidence going off trail. There are so many people that can't even fathom the
Totally.
idea of going off trail. If there's not a trail, their brain breaks in half. Where to me, I had a moment on the PCT where my buddy and I were in Oregon somewhere, and we smelled smoke, And we were like, oh, we're gonna go around this like ridge, and it was obviously like fire season. And we stopped, and I was like, hey man, if there's, I looked at my map, and I was just immediately started looking for bail off points. Like we're not going back down the trail. We're going to the nearest road and getting the heck out of here. If we go around the corner and there's a forest fire, we're freaking bailing. And I looked at my map and I was like, oh, okay, sweet. We'll just like off this corner here, we'll just go that way. And it's like a quarter mile to like a road or a mile or whatever it was. And I looked at my map and I was like, all right, so this is the plan. This is what we're going to do that way. And he's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. He's like, how do you know? And I'm like, because I'm looking at a freaking map. He's like, yeah, but there's no trail. And I was like, I know.
Yeah.
But it's you like, as a hunter, you like almost, I don't know, the same thing for you, but I'm constantly building parameters in my mind of like, and as I move down the trail, I'm building my new set of parameters. Like, if shit hits the fan, I'm going this way, and it's quick. It's like I don't have to think about it. Even if I've never even looked at the map, I can just open it up and be like, boom, trail system, road, skid road, boom, done. There, half a mile. I can just like not only need a compass. I can just go. All this ridge down there, over with, back to safety. That's what hunting's done for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift. That's a huge gift.
100%. Dude, you nailed it. Again, it's marrying all of these different disciplines.
Yes.
And they all like kind of parallel each other. I mean, they're all outdoor things, right? And they all parallel each other. Do you know what I really think that you would like is these things called high routes.
Oh yeah, I talked to Andrew Skirka about those. Yeah, those are interesting.
Oh, dude, we got our ass whooped on his high route this last year. Ass whooped, dude. Second day, I was like,
well, he's kind of a freak.
Oh, dude. Oh, it was terrifying.
Which one did you do?
We did the Wind River High Route and got annihilated.
Did you finish it?
We bailed after like 20 miles. And we had like a whole day of hiking, like a day and a half of hiking to even get back to the trailhead. It's just the middle of nowhere out there. But dude, but anyway, I'm planning on doing that Allen's version of the Wind River High Route first. Should probably do that before I go to Skirka's again, because that was full on. But you talk about off trail travel, reading topo maps, stuff like that that you get from hunting, things like that. Follow this ridge system and things like that. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, and again, that's why I like hunting. I think I like all these things too, because if something ever happened that was really bad, like an apocalypse, you know how to hunt, you know how to climb, you know how to thru-hike, you know how to feed yourself, you know, to do this or that, I think that's really cool.
Well, it is, but also, I mean, you learn these skill sets and you just become a well-rounded individual. You can't 100%. Not be like, and so day-to-day life becomes a little easier. So because a crisis in the backcountry is a little more intense than a crisis on your commute to work. So yeah, just it builds mental stamina. Like both my parents died within like 2 years, and then we just had like kids and like parents dying and like other people dying. I was like, like my mind, the PCT was yet another one of those. I've had other life things where I've been stretched mentally, and I really had to revert back to like those. Do the thing, it'll get better. Don't quit. Like you just have to believe that it's going to get better, and it will get better. But like it gets dark, real dark, and it can get there for a long time. But you just have to keep going, keep moving, and then look for daylight and look for opportunity. And all right, that Cheeto tasted real good. All right, I can get to the next mile. Do one more day, one more mile, whatever it is. You can do one more, and then eventually you're out of it. And I feel like I'm coming out of it, and I feel way more energetic because for the last few years been so emotionally saturated by family events that my desire to push myself mentally and physically in the backcountry, it was at an all-time low.
Mm-hmm.
I needed all those experiences to be positive. I couldn't tax my brain anymore because I was doing it in my day-to-day life. So
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I'm coming out of that era
Mm-hmm.
where life is a little, no one's dying anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, don't get complacent. You need to start pushing yourself again. You need to start
Yeah.
flexing that muscle.
Oh, and it truly, truly is a muscle.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, I would love to. So, talking about just, learning new things, doing all that type of stuff, you have a course available, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the course is and maybe how yours is different than some of the other ones out there?
Yeah. So it's called Learn How to Backpack. And I literally started writing it because I just wanted to just cut down the amount of time it takes to learn the basics of the fundamentals of backpacking. So, real quick, the course is like 70 videos. It's roughly like 4.5 hours of tutorials, literally taking you from the ABCs of backpacking, but also sprinkling in uh, like how I do things because the idea isn't to teach people how I backpack, it's to teach them how to backpack as an overarching theme. So I integrate, all right, like for example, the backpacks. Okay, let's not talk about just the way the backpack Emory uses. Let's talk about backpacks in general, the different types there are, and how a backpack works. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea of the fundamentals. So that the idea is that in that one example, and I go through this on every piece of gear for backpacking, you can then go into the store and assess the gear based on your needs. So you can look at this backpack that does not have a frame and know, okay, that's what that is. That's what I can expect from it. That's what it's for. I need that or I don't need that. So, and that all comes with like experience, right? Because a lot of times you just choose a backpack, if we're staying with that example, and based on like, okay, that the one thing you need. But as you grow in backpacking, you end up learning, oh, I want to try this, I want to do that, I need that kind of thing. Well, so the idea of the course is like, I'm going to give you all this information up front so you don't have to worry about, so you can just start fresh and you can start with all the information that you'll eventually learn years later.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a lot of advanced techniques in there that aren't, I'm doing air quotes, like advanced. They're just stuff you end up learning. And the difference is that it's not a set it and forget it course in the sense that if you take the course, the entire point of it is for me to help you out if you need it. So if you have questions, you can literally email me and I respond. And we can have a back and forth for however long it needs. And if we need to, we can get on the phone to talk about it. Like, I want to be a part of your journey. And if you have questions or you need some guidance, that's part of the experience. So I think what sets it apart is a lot of backpacking courses, at least from what I've seen, is you take the course, you ingest the information, thank you, see you later. You don't have a mentor. Mm-hmm. And I really try my best to meet people where they're at. Where are you? What do you want to do? All right, let's start there and tailor the information I'm about to give you to that. I don't want you to, I use myself as an example in the course of how I do things. So you just have an example and I might use that in a one-on-one conversation. But that's just to like give you a sense of where things are at in the, atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's my approach to stuff.
Yeah. So it's like you're teaching them concepts, number one, so they can kind of think for themselves.
Yep.
And you go over the backpacks and things like that as an example, but I've seen where, that can save people money, a lot of money in the long run, because I was the person that bought the Osprey pack the first time and didn't like it. and the hip belt didn't work, and I didn't understand that type of thing,
Mhm.
right? So I had to sell that. Then I had to buy a new backpack,
Yeah.
and then another, and so all this type of stuff that kind of could have been solved by just talking with someone that has
Yeah.
already been there and that maybe has similar goals to mine and things like that. So awesome. And then and then also the mentorship, because like you give
Yeah.
people info, but like obviously they have follow-up questions,
Yeah.
they want
Yeah.
clarifications, they want this and that, and so you're almost kind of there to guide them even more along in that process, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I mean, I care way more about um someone's experience. Like, even if they don't have to be like a brand new student. Like, if they come in and they've been there for years and they're like, now they're going to try something new, like, it's kind of a lifetime thing. Like, you're in, like, you can hit me up anytime. That's what I'm there for. That's what I care most about, is like helping someone have a good experience. And a lot of times the reason why I made the course is because I personally didn't have anyone there to teach me. A lot of people just are having to do this on their own, because if you're getting into backpacking as an older person, like an adult, just basically an adult, like a working adult, 9 times out of 10, you're probably the only person you know that wants to get into backpacking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be doing it already,
Yeah.
right? So that's what it was for me. Is I didn't have I knew hunting. I didn't know backpacking though, and so I had to learn all these skills, but I had no one there to teach me. And I bought gear that I was way too expensive, that didn't work, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I didn't know what I was doing right. It took me years to figure it all out, and I just don't think it's necessary. And I don't think it's necessary to spend years to figure out how to backpack and enjoy yourself. I want to speed up that process, because the other thing is the the vast majority of people are not backpacking year round. They're going on like one backpacking trip a year. And that's going to take forever to learn
Yeah.
how to backpack.
Right.
So I've had people take the course they're like, man, I had this backpacking trip coming up and I wanted to learn, and it took your course, and it like had a massive impact on I I came out of the course, I implemented it, and there was an amazing result because of it. I'm like, that's it. That's awesome. Sweet. Now you can work on that. There's always going to be stuff to learn. I'm not saying I'm going to solve world hunger here, but the idea is for you to get to the good parts sooner rather than later, and to give you the tools to walk into REI or shop backcountry, look at the label, and know what the heck you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
It's huge, yeah. Like, because then you're in
Huge.
control, instead of like, hey man, I'm looking for a backpack to go backpacking. The guy's like, well, let me tell you about my time on the PCT. You need
Yeah.
a 7-pound base weight, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Just everything we discussed at the first
everything we
part.
just discussed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's what I love about you, dude. You're always so willing to help. I, Another story I was going to share real quick was the Lewitt Trail.
Oh,
The first time that I hiked it, I hit up Emory because I knew that he had hiked it. He literally just emails me like all of where the water is, because it's kind of a dry trail.
Surprisingly dry.
Yeah, and he's mileage and this and that, where this is and that is, and I was just like kind of blown away by this whole thing. This was back in 2020. This was July 2020. I know exactly when it was because it was a shakedown for my hike for my JMT hike.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, and so it was super helpful to me. And I didn't even think you had the course at that point either, but just just a great guy. So I appreciate you, man. You're a good dude. Where else can they find you?
Byland.co, and that'll get you everything you need. And then you can do learn how to backpack. I'm also doing a solo backpacking course. I'm coming out with and writing it.
I saw that.
Yeah. That's going to be like a more personal development. I mean, it's about solo backpacking, but it turns out that solo backpacking is kind of like personal development. So it's going to be, so I'm really excited about that, but byland.co, and then you can get to the courses there and stuff like that.
Popping in here to tell you guys that I'm going to leave the links for all of Emory's stuff down in the show notes, his course, how to keep up with him on Instagram, his podcast, and his website. So if you're interested in any of that, go down below, check that out, and we will see you for the next epi.